G'day everyone, it's Sam. If we haven't met before, welcome to my channel. Today we are going to be working on a routine that you can keep in your arsenal if you are somebody who likes to run quite a fair bit. Now, full disclosure, I do not consider myself a runner in any sense of the word. However, the last week or so I have been incorporating quite a bit of running into my routine, and some things I've started to notice in my body, first and foremost, is my calves and my shins are really starting to feel it. The hamstrings, of course, are feeling exceptionally tight. Hip flexors are feeling it, and even the shoulders. So from that constant pumping the arms back and forth, shoulder heads are starting to feel it. And of course, the low back from that constant jolting against the earth. So they're the things we're going to be working with today. We're going to use a yoga block and a strap. Now, anything with a bit of length will do. You'll see today I have a resistance band here. I just got this from my local Kmart for $5. If you don't have a yoga strap, you can use a belt, even an iPhone cord or whatever cord you have, just something that's going to give you a bit of length to go around the foot towards the end of practice. And when you're ready, we're going to start down on the back. So come on down. We're going to set the feet up as though we were coming into bridge pose. And if you're not sure what bridge pose is, we're going to bend the knees and set the feet underneath the knee. So nice straight line from knee down towards the ankle. If you take your arms down by the side, you might be able to graze the ankles there. And if not, just see if you can shuffle those feet a little closer towards you. And then keep your yoga block nice and handy. From here, we're going to drive our elbows down into the earth. Start to tuck the tailbone under. So you'll feel your tailbone start to levitate up and off the earth. And then we drive through the heels to lift the hips up nice and high. And when we arrive, set that yoga block, if you can, on the higher side, underneath your sitting bones. So it's not resting underneath the vertebra of the lumbar spine, but a little further down. So under that fleshy part of your upper tush there. So to start with, we just want to get comfortable here. So we're feeling this opening through the front of the belly. The front of the hips, the hip flexors, is where we get a lot of compression when we're running. So we're going to work to lengthen through the hip flexor a little bit. But for now, just be here. The arms hang down by the side. Let your eyes close for a moment. And just find a few even breaths. So breathing in and out through the nose if you can. So one of the great things about yoga is that it's the exact opposite of running. So we're working to keep our breath down, keep our heart rate slow rather than trying to get into that upper part of the heart rate and working on the cardiovascular endurance. We're working to keep the breath nice and steady, keep everything calm and moving slowly. So you inhale, feel your belly and chest rise up towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, feel the navel start to almost fall down towards the floor. And take one more breath like that. Let it go. And if your eyes are closed, we'll just gently open them. From here, we're going to keep that left foot exactly where it is. Just start to bend the right knee in towards the chest. So the right leg is lifting up and off the mat. From here, we'll flex the right foot. So we find a dorsiflexion flexion of the ankle. That's a position you'll be quite comfortable with if you are a runner. And then from here, we're going to work to straighten the leg to the best of your ability and take it straight up towards the sky. So already, if you notice you need to keep a bend in the knee, then fantastic. Throughout the practice, if I'm cueing a straight leg, you just keep that gentle bend in the knee, because that bend is going to allow you to activate the front of your leg, your quadricep as well, and give the hamstring a little bit of a break. So you want to compress through that right hip flexor just a little bit, not too much. And then with the right toe still flexing towards the face, a gentle stamp of that right heel up towards the ceiling. So later on towards the end of the practice, we're going to have a strap over the bottom of the foot and work on the same pose, only without the block underneath our hips there. So you're just working to see what it feels like to get that leg up in the air. Then from here, we're going to floint the foot. So a flointed foot is a pointed foot with the toes flexed back towards you. So you'll feel the ball of the foot start to press straight up towards the ceiling. And then from here, bend up the elbows, press the elbows into the earth, And just start to roll out your foot, so creating big circles, rotating the ankle. You'll start to feel the sensation shift from the front of the shin to the calf. We'll just go maybe 5 to 10 in one direction, moving as slow and as full a rotation as you can, and then swap directions. So you're getting a dorsiflexion, a plantarflexion, an eversion, and an inversion of the ankle joint there. Nice one. And then once you've made your way through about your 10 rounds either side, flex the foot again and start to extend your right leg out long in front of you. Nice and slow. We want to feel the right heel start to press into the earth without the right toes falling off towards the side. So they're still pointing up towards the ceiling here. And from here, with the elbows still drawing in towards the earth, start to bring the left knee in towards the chest. Flexing the left foot, and then work to extend the right leg out a little longer in front of you. Now this may be plenty. We are working to actively lengthen the front of that right hip. If you can, flex your right glute and just see the sensation, or feel the sensation rather, start to shift in the front of the hip. If you feel strong and supported, you can take your left hand to rest on top of your left knee. Maybe even draw that left knee in a little bit closer. You might be able to find a better grip around the left foot. And if all this feels okay and you want to take it just one step further, if that block feels supported underneath the sitting bones, with your right foot still flexed, we're just going to hover the right heel up and off the earth an inch or so. So now you'll really start to feel that right hip opening a little more. Maybe you can bend the left elbow and draw that the left knee in a little bit closer. And just be here for one last deep inhale. So breathe in. And the exhale, gently soften your right heel down. Release your left foot down to the earth for just a moment. Nice one. And we work to swap over our legs. So we'll bend up the right knee. The right foot will now ground underneath the right knee. And then from here, we're going to bring the left knee in towards the chest. If you need to wiggle and adjust your block, absolutely. Flexing the left foot, start to extend that left leg up towards the ceiling. Again, if your straight leg is a bent knee, that is absolutely fine. It is the beginning of practice. You don't have high expectations of what the leg can do right now. And from here, we find that flointed foot again. So we point the foot and then flex the toes back towards you and start to create those big, big circles. So already in my short running career of 1 week, I can really start to feel the calves and the shins. So the gastrocnemius and the tibialis anterior muscles, they really take a beating with all that constant bashing against the earth when we're running. You start to change directions. Again, moving nice and slow. If there's a few creaks and cracks in the ankle, that's completely fine. And after you've finished, 10 or 5, whatever it was for you, either side, dorsiflect the ankle. Start to extend that left leg out long in front of you, lowering nice and slow, letting that left heel just tap against the earth. Toes still pointing up towards the ceiling. And from here, if you feel supported, drive those elbows down, bring that right knee in towards the chest and flex the right foot. So the legs are moving in opposition. The right knee is moving towards you. The left foot is moving away from you. And without that right knee falling out towards the side, we want to try and draw it back in towards the center. You can stay right here if that's enough. Or take your right hand, catch hold of the right knee without the right shoulder lifting up and off the earth. You want to see if you can keep the right shoulder grounded. From here, you might be able to find a better grip, shuffling the fingers around. Again, if this is plenty, you stay right here. Alternatively, we hover the left foot up and off the earth. Really, really extending through the front of that left hip. Left glute is engaged. Right knee is drawing in. Maybe you bend that right elbow. Just feeling this deep opening sensation in the front of your left hip here. Take one last breath. As you exhale, we soften the left heel down first. Release the right knee. Soften right foot underneath the right knee. Shuffle left foot underneath the left knee. And as you draw those elbows back towards you a little more, the shoulder blades start to retract and press into the earth. We push through the feet to lift the hips. So now we're coming into an active bridge. Pop the block out of the way. See if you can interlace your fingers, extend your arms, and allow the pinky side edge of the hand to rest against the earth or work its way towards the earth. If your elbows are bent like this, that's fine. We're just understanding that the arms are working towards the earth. Now we drive through the heels, draw the inner thighs towards each other. If you can, see if you can lift the toes up off the mat just for a moment, pressing down through the ball mound of your big toe. Take an inhale. And as you exhale, bend your elbows, release your spine, and let your hips slowly lower down towards the earth. Nice one. So a lot of time spent on the floor today, and this will be a great sequence for you to put towards the end of a run or even before. Something for you to come back to, some poses you can keep in the mind so you have them there at the ready when you're going for a run or you've just finished. So we're going to keep that left leg where it is now. Cross your right ankle onto your left thigh. And then flexing the right foot, you want to move the right knee away from your face. So finding a gentle external rotation through the right hip. From here, we'll reach our arms up towards the sky. Take a breath in. Then on the exhale, curl to lift your head and chest up off the mat. The left arm's going to reach around the outside of the left hamstring, and the right arm is going to reach between the legs. And as we hover the left foot up off the mat, we interlace the fingers behind the back of the left hamstring, flex both feet, and then return your head down towards the mat. So we're keeping both feet engaged and flexed, just so we have some mind-muscle connection all the way down to the feet there. As we bend the elbows to bring the left knee closer towards us, we want to work to externally rotate that right hip a little more and move the right knee away from us. So with the head and shoulders grounded on the earth, we want to keep the stretch for now more concentrated on that right hip. In a moment, we'll lift the head up, and then you'll notice the stretch starts to move towards the lumbar, spine, and even towards the neck as well. So keeping the feet flexed, take a breath in. And as you exhale, we'll curl the head and chest up off the mat. Keep bending the left elbows. Imagine you were trying to take your forehead to tap the inside of your right ankle. So both feet are flexing here with the chin in towards the chest. You're starting to feel a bit of stretch in the neck. And with the butt gently lifting up off the mat, you're feeling the low back start to lengthen just a little more. Take one last breath. As you exhale, straighten the arms, let the left foot touch the earth. Release that left leg. Take the arms out to either side like two 90-degree angles and start to fall the hips off towards the left and let your right foot touch down against the earth. So from here, we're going to find just a gentle twist across the lumbar spine and then work on a little more of that external rotation in your right hip. So the legs are going to stay in the same orientation that they're in right now. The only difference is that right knee is going to fall towards the front of the room. In whatever capacity that looks like for you. Your leg might be way up here. If you're open, the right knee might be falling all the way down towards the left ankle. And keep both feet flexed. You just allow gravity to do the work here. So a lot of tightness in the front of the hips. For those who do like to run quite often, your hips are only ever in neutral or they're contracting at the front when you're running. So we never really extend through that hip flexor. So we'll work on a little more of that later in the practice, and you'll notice it may not feel that comfortable. If it does feel super duper tight, then that's probably an indication that that's a little more of what you need in your practice. Take a full inhale. And as we exhale, we're going to hover the left knee about 6 inches up and off the earth, and then cross the right thigh all the way over the left and lower that left knee back down towards the earth. And then this time we spread the arms out super wide, let the palms press down into the earth, and gently turn your gaze over towards your right hand. So now we're finding a little deeper twist here. We'll let the belly be nice and soft. and really focus on your exhales here. So of course, as you inhale, you fill up, you feel the belly expand, the chest rise. And as you exhale, part the lips, let everything go. We'll do 2 more like that here. Breathe in through the nose. Let everything go during the exhale. Last one, breathe in. Open the mouth. Sigh it out. And we'll bring the head back to center first. Bend the elbows, press the elbows into the earth, bring those hips back to center. We'll unravel the legs. And this time we'll ground down through the right foot. Take the left ankle on top of the right thigh and gently open that left knee away from you, flexing that left foot. Reach the arms up towards the ceiling. Take a full breath. As we exhale, curl the head and chest up off the mat. The right arm will reach around the outside of the right hamstring, left hand between the legs. We hover the right foot, interlace the fingers, flex both feet, and then drop your head back down. So same stretch, just on the opposite side this time. So see if you can keep that right shin maybe parallel with the earth. That'll just give you a little more activity here. Then you draw the right knee towards you, push the left knee away from you. Working to extend the length of your breath. You'll find that the more calm and connected your breath pattern is, then the more permission you give your body to release. If we're feeling stressed and tense, and the body tends to respond in the same way. But if we keep calm and relaxed, then again, the body will respond in the same way. Take a full inhale. Exhale, curl the head and chest up off the mat. Bend the elbows. Imagine you're trying to take your forehead to the inside of your left ankle. So definitely feeling some more stretch through the outside of your left hip, so the IT band, the low back, and into the neck as well as we draw the chin in towards the chest. Breathing in. Exhale, returning, right foot down to the mat. Releasing the hands, taking them out, 90-degree angles. And this time we start to pivot. Let the hips drop off to the right, the left foot ground down onto the earth. Keeping both of your feet flexed, start to gently open that left knee away from you. Now don't expect that both sides are going to be even. So you may have quite a lot more opening on one side than the other. That's completely okay. Just acknowledge what's happening. And then as you start to continue in your practice journey, you'll notice that maybe one side just needs a little more love. And then you can adjust your practice in honor of that. It's these imbalances that we have that make us unique and human. So we learn to love them. Take one last full breath here. As we exhale, we hover the right knee 6 inches away from the earth, cross the left thigh all the way over. And as we let the knees drop off towards the right-hand side, we spread those arms out wide, start to turn the gaze off towards the left arm there. And like we did before, we really want to focus on our exhales, letting absolutely everything go. So we'll breathe in through the nose. Part the lips. And 2 more like that, each one longer than the last. Breathe in. Last one. Big inhale, spread across those shoulder blades. Open the mouth. We gently bring our head back to center, bend the elbows, bring the hips back to center, unravel the legs. Then from here we reach our arms up towards the sky, take a breath in. Then exhale, curl our head and chest up off the mat, come all the way up to a seat. And we'll cross over the legs Start to come back to all fours. We are going to come into a downward facing dog. So we set the hands down a little bit wider than the shoulders and a little further in front of the shoulders. And then with your toes tucked under, for a moment, just send your hips back towards the heel. So getting a bigger stretch through the bottom of the foot. And maybe you start with more of a focus on the big toe. So you start to move the inner ankles towards each other. But then we start to shift it. And maybe we move the outer ankles away from one another. So we feel the stretch a little more towards the pinky there. Such a beautiful stretch. And if you are connected with your legs quite a lot with all your running, you definitely want to have a connection with your feet as well. So this is definitely a stretch that I would recommend doing without your shoes on and grounding your feet into the earth, wherever that may be, whether it's the grass, the carpet, the floorboards, the yoga mat, whatever it is. Get connected, get the shoes off every once in a while. Then from here, we'll come on up to all fours. I'm just going to take ourselves straight back into downward facing dog. So we lift the knees up and back and then guide the hips up and back. And to start with, we're going to keep the knees nice and bent. So I'm going to assume we're all a little tighter through the hamstrings today because we are runners. That's why we've chosen this practice. So we bend the knees quite a lot and then press the whole hand flat to push the hips higher and away from your hands. So the hips are lifting, the palms are pressing down. And with that big bend in the knees, we're taking the tension off the hamstrings for a moment. Let's shuffle the feet a little closer towards each other and keep the right leg where it is. Just bring the left knee in towards the chest. So now we're just balancing on the one leg. And on the inhale, we're going to lift the heel as high as we can, bend the knee. And on the exhale, work to straighten the leg, take the right heel towards the earth. It doesn't have to get anywhere near, don't worry. Then inhale, lift the heel as high as you can, bend the knee. Exhale, straighten the leg to lower the heel. And we'll do that one more time. Inhale, the heel lifts, the knee bends. Exhale, the leg straightens, the heel drops. Nice one. And we soften the left foot down. We're going to swap over to the other side. So you draw that right knee in towards the chest. Start to lift that left heel as high as you can. And then bend into the left knee. As you bend the left knee, the hips move backwards. So take a breath. Exhale, left leg will straighten, heel will lower down. 2 more times. Inhale, heel lifts, knee bends. Exhale, straighten the leg, lower the heel. Last one together. Inhale, lift that heel, bend the knee. Exhale, straighten the leg, lower the left heel, then position your right foot next to your left. We're going to walk our hands back towards our feet and just separate those feet so they're wider than hip width distance apart. From here, set your fingertips in front of your feet, bend your knees quite convincingly, and then push through the fingertips to lift the chest. So we call this Ardha Uttanasana, or halfway lift. We've taken it with bent knees today just so we can flatten out the low back a little more. And then I really want you to feel the belly pulling in towards the spine, so you feel the abs start to activate a little more. And then send the weight a little more to the heels rather than the toes. Maybe you'll start to feel your low ribs press against the thighs if your knees are bent enough. And then because you have those abs working, the core engaged, we're going to take the arms out by the side, spread apart the shoulder blades. So feel strong and connected here. Keep moving the butt backwards. Keep sending the weight into the heels. Maybe the toes can start to lift. And then pull the belly in towards the spine. See if you can lift the chest just a little more and then spread those arms apart. And we want the crown of the head to be reaching forward rather than the chin. So the back of the neck is just as long as the front of the neck. So as the toes lift up, the ball mound of the big toe will really ground down. You'll feel the inner arches of the feet lift. And then from this space, we just soften the 10 toes back down. Take one last breath here. As you exhale, keep the knees bent, drop the torso all the way over the thighs, and then catch hold of opposite elbows and just start to sway from side to side. So you're feeling the weight start to move through all four corners of the feet here. As you lean forward, the toes will bite into the mat. And then as you lean back, you can lift the toes up off the mat and press down through the ball mount of the big toe. So we're just encouraging every single part of the foot to build a little more connection with the earth. And because your knees are bending, your torso is nice and close to your thighs and your head is nice and heavy. There's no tension being held in the back of the neck. Take one last breath. As you exhale, gently release your fingertips to the earth. Inhale, we'll take that halfway lift. Again, the knees are bent, the chest will rise. And then we'll walk our hands to the top of the mat. We're in downward facing dog. And then once we get to downward facing dog, look back towards your feet. Inhale, lift the heels nice and high. And start to tiptoe your way towards the front of the mat. Nice one. So once we arrive, we're going to take a block, just pop it in front of us for a moment. And then from here, press both hands into the block. Inhale, find a halfway lift. So I want you to look at your feet for a moment. From here, we're going to cross that left leg to the outside of the right foot. So the left leg is going to cross in front, and then the left pinky, will line up with the outside of the right pinky there. Then from here, because you have your block, your chest is rising quite a lot. We're going to start to just walk the block off towards the left-hand side a little bit. Start to lean your weight to the outside edge of your right foot and bend into your left knee here. So the right leg is straight, the right hip is moving out towards the right-hand side, but your torso is starting to turn off towards the left. So we're getting more of a deeper stretch through the outside of that right hip into the right IT band. So as you walk that block around towards the left-hand side, see if you can shift it further out towards the left side of the room as well. Maybe press your right palm into the block and then set your left hand on top of your right. So you'll feel this stretch run all the way down through the right side of the body into the right side of that right hip as well. Again, you can lift your toes up off the mat there. See if that changes the sensation as you move the weight to the heels. Take one last breath here. As you exhale, you might want to set the left fingertips down to the earth for a moment as you bring the block back to center. Push down through the block, lift the chest, and then return your feet back to where they were for a moment. Lift and lower the heels one at a time, just shifting the weight from either side of the feet there. And then we'll swap to the other side. So this time the right foot's going to shift in front and land on the outside of the left foot. We're going to start to maneuver the block off towards the right-hand side. Lean our weight into the outside edge of that left foot. Right knee is bent, the left leg is straight. If you don't need the block, you can use your fingertips on the earth here. The block's just going to give us a little more height. And then if you want, set the left hand on the block, the right hand on top, and really lean the weight off towards the left-hand side here. Taking one last breath in, really breathe into the left side ribs. As you exhale, you can set your right fingertips onto the earth. We'll come back to center. We don't need the block anymore, so take both fingertips to the earth, unravel the legs. Inhale, find that halfway lift. Pull the navel to spine. Take the arms out towards the side like we did before. Lean the weight into the heels. You can lift the toes and then drive through the feet. Come all the way up to stand here. So when we arrive, we spread the 10 toes out against the earth. Stand up nice and tall. Pull your shoulder blades back towards each other. Then like we did when we were in that very first bridge pose, we're going to interlace the fingers behind the back. Drive the hands down the back of the hips. You feel the chest rise, the hips press forward, take an inhale. And as you exhale, we're going to fold over the thighs, keeping this bind. So bending the knees, allowing the rib cage to rest against the thighs. And drop the head nice and heavy and allow the arms to drop over the back of the head. So we mentioned at the beginning of practice, the shoulders get quite a beating, that constant jarring up and down as you run across the earth. So we're getting some extension through the shoulder joint here. Again, if your straight arms are bent elbows, that's completely fine. Just really press the fingertips against each other here. Let your head drop nice and heavy. If it's there, you can find that gentle sway from side to side. Take one last breath here. Stay for the exhale. Now, before we release this bind with the hands, and this is very important, we're going to bend the elbows so the fingers are still interlaced. We want the hands to touch the tailbone first. That way the shoulders can relax. And then we lower our hands down towards the earth. Separate the feet a touch wider. Bend the knees. Inhale, lift the chest. Then from here we bend the knees all the way down. Find a malasana or yogi squat, as we like to call it. So the malasana or yogi squat, it may be uncomfortable at first, especially if you are a runner, because this contraction or the compression through the hip flexors is something you're all too familiar with. But what we want to experience more here is that big flexion through the ankle joint and this stretching in the calves too. As the hamstrings press against the calves, it gives you quite a beneficial stretch there as well. But if the hips are really starting to feel it, I invite you to set your fingertips in front of you, lift your heels up off the mat, and then from here we just start to shift from side to side. So imagine you're trying to take the right knee to tap just outside the right pinky, and then pivot your torso towards the left and gaze off towards the left-hand side. So you feel the inside of your right hip start to open here. You've lost a bit of that compression through the front of the right hip. Take a breath in. And as we exhale, we swap. The right knee will lift. We'll lower the left knee to the outside of the left pinky. We'll start to turn the torso off towards the right-hand side. So as the right knee moves away from you, we get a deeper opening through the inner left thigh and the front of the left hip. Take a breath. Exhale, we'll switch off to the right. Hold for the inhale. Exhale, we switch off to the left. And by the left, I mean the left knee is lowering, but the torso is moving to the right. Take a breath in. Exhale, we switch. And just take one more either side. Hold for the inhale. Exhale, we switch. Hold for the inhale. As we exhale, we come back to center. We're going to lower the knees down towards the mat. If you can, take the knees a little closer towards each other and then separate the feet a touch wider. We're going to work to take our yoga block, pop it underneath our sitting bones. So here we're in a supported virasana or hero's pose. Supported meaning we have a block underneath our hips and our hips are not lowering all the way towards the floor. So the idea here in hero's pose is to have the top of your feet pressing down outside your hips, the knees drawing towards each other. If you feel like the knees are starting to internally rotate and move towards each other, lift your hips up off the mat, take your thumbs to your calves and spin your calf muscles out away from each other, and then lower yourself back down. You may feel the front of the shin flatten out against the mat just a little more. So one last little hip flexor opening pose here before we come down to the back and finish off. And this can look a number of ways. If you want, if you're super duper tight through the hips and you feel like there's not much space, this may even be too much. You can pop the block up onto a higher side if you like. If you want to just take a lighter option, you can set the fingertips behind you, pull your shoulder blades back towards each other, and then flex your glutes to press and lift your hips away from the block. And that may feel like plenty just there. Front of the hips are working, chest and shoulders are opening. You can take a few breaths there. So if that's enough, you can absolutely stay right there. If you feel like there's a little more space, hips are on the block. Once again, you can start to lower your forearms down onto the earth and just take your hands to grip the bottoms of the feet. So when we get there, we want to eliminate the arching in the low back as much as we can. So you might have noticed there, I gently lifted the hips, tried to tuck the tailbone under slightly. And again, this may be plenty. You can pull the shoulder blades back towards each other, lift the chest as you draw the navel in towards the spine. Or if you want to go all the way, start to walk the hands up the outside of the shins. See if you can lower the back of the head onto the mat. And take the arms just down by the side. If there's that really big arching in the low back, try and lift the hips, tuck the tailbone under slightly, then pull the belly in towards the spine. So the front of the hips are lifting towards the ceiling, but the navel's lowering down towards the floor. Essentially, we're trying to flatten out the back to the best of our ability. Whatever your chosen variation is, we're going to be here for about 5 breaths. If you are down all the way, we want the knees moving towards each other, the top of the feet, the front of the shins pressing down. And we inhale together. And let it go. We inhale together. Let it go. And just take 3 more of your own breaths. And last breath in, really embrace it. This time we'll breathe in through the nose. Pause at the top for just a moment. And then open your mouth. We'll let it go. If you have come all the way down, we're going to take our hands to grip at the front of our shins, drive the elbows into the earth, and slowly lift ourselves up and off the earth. Removing the block for a moment, just finding a closed knee child's pose. So you want to shuffle knees and feet together this time. You lower your head down onto the earth, take your arms down by the side. If you want to take it further, hands can grip the bottoms of the heels and you can pull yourself towards the feet just a little more. Just here for 1 breath. And when you're ready, we're going to finish off our practice coming down onto the back again, so where we started. And you're going to catch hold of your strap or your belt, whatever it is you were using. And we're going to lower down into that bridge setup like we did. So the feet are going to be stacked underneath the knees. We're going to press down through the left foot, start to bring the right knee in towards the chest, and take your strap of choice, whatever it is, around the bottom of your right foot with one side of the strap into either hand. Then extend your right leg up towards the sky. Again, it may be straight, it may be bent. It doesn't really matter. If you bend the knee, it actually takes the tension off the back of the knee and the low back a little more, and you can get into the hamstring a little more. So completely up to you, bent knee or straight leg. Wiggle the toes a little so you know they're active, they're engaged. And from here, we're going to take both sides of the strap into the right hand. Take the left arm out like a little cactus, 90-degree angle. Take a breath here. And as you exhale, we're going to slowly open the right leg out towards the right-hand side. So again, your leg can be straight or bent. If at any point you start to feel the whole body fall off to the right-hand side and the left hip lift up off the mat, just pull it back. We want to keep the left hip grounded there against the earth. Finding a little more of that external rotation through that right hip just to finish off. Take a full breath in. Stay for the exhale. And then we'll grip that strap a little more with the right hand. Gently bring the leg back up to center. Once again, return one side of the strap into either hand. And then from here, just take your left foot up, pop it into the strap, and then remove your right foot. Bend the right knee, ground the right foot down. So we've come onto the other side now. So graceful. Again, bend the knee or straighten the leg, whatever works for you, but keep the feet Now the foot engaged, you can wiggle the toes so you know that it's there, it's active. And we return. Both sides of the strap into the left hand, right arm out, 90 degrees. Take an inhale. Exhale, we open the left leg out towards the left-hand side to the best of our ability right now. Notice if the right hip lifts up, you pull it back a little. You want to keep the right foot grounded, the right hip grounded. Your left leg can be straight or bent, whatever your leg will allow you to do right now. Take one last breath. As you exhale, grip the strap, bring that left leg back to center, one side of the strap into either hand, bend your left knee, just remove your strap, pop it off to the side. And then to finish, and this will be our final pose, bring soles of feet together, let knees drop out wide. Supta Baddha Konasana, great space to open up through the hips. We'll interlace our fingers here, gently lift our head, cup the back of the head with the hands, draw the chin in towards the chest so you feel the low back start to flatten out. And from here, we'll gently take the left elbow down towards the outside of the left hip. You'll feel the right shoulder blade lift up off the mat as the left shoulder blade presses down. Take an inhale. And then exhale, we'll circle around to the right hand side. So as the right shoulder blade grounds, the left shoulder blade will lift. The right elbow will move down towards the outside of the right hip. Take an inhale. And exhale, we'll come back to center. Draw the chin in towards the chest a little more, lift the head, take one last breath. And as you exhale, we'll lower the back of the head down. Take the arms down by the side, and let your hands rest and the fingers curl in. So I encourage you to revisit this practice whenever you feel like the body is starting to tighten up from all your running. You can take the poses and the shapes that work for you and then leave the ones that you felt didn't really do anything. You can add on or take off whatever you feel is necessary, but definitely something to revisit and come back to. I thank you so much for practicing with me today. And I'll see you all on the mat again soon. Peace.